As I was sitting there listening to speeches, I looked around this wonderful room, and I know we'll have a chance to see some of the other rooms in this state-of-the-art Boys and Girls Club, number 2000 Boys and Girls Club. I thought to myself, I see all that steel, I see all that cinder block work and electrical work and air conditioning work. And it takes about this much stuff to make a jail. It's about what it would take. And that's what we've been doing too much of in recent years. We've been using this kind of material and treasure to build jails, to put our children in eventually. No other civilized nation in the world has as many people in jail as we have in jail. So we need more mentors. We need more places like this, where the community comes together and says to the young people of the community, and especially in this neighborhood here, we care about you. Because you see, what these young people are seeing, not just a nice place to play basketball or in the computer room to run a software program. They don't see steel and cinder blocks alone. What they see are people who care about them. What they see are people who love them. What they see are people who have expectations of them and about them and will not let them fail. We do not have anything more important to do than to protect youngsters like this and put them on the road to success. The choice is very simple. We either build our children or we build more jails. It's time to stop building jails and get back to what we know how to do as Americans, and that's to build our children.
Hello, welcome to our children. My name is Beverly Gilchrist, and today I have a guest host, Mr. Christopher Lane. Many of you have seen him before on other shows, and he's giving us a treat. He is hosting this show, and he will be carrying on conversation with his guests. Christopher, welcome as guest host.
Thank you. I just want to start off by saying I'm glad to be here, and my guests are Mrs. Stephanie Adams, or to me as known, my principal at Kip Infinity Elementary, and we have Mr. John Prince. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
And our topic is going to be education and how it affects the underserved communities. So that's meaning like education and both civil rights combined. So our questions today, so we're going to start off by, how has civil rights played a part in today's education system? Anyone want to start with that?
Well, you can start, ladies first.
So I'm thinking about a lot of the teachers, a lot of your teachers and the teachers that I teach with, and a lot of things that we say every day is that education is the civil rights fight of our generation, of Chris's generation, and that the fight never stopped. And how do schools everywhere really empower young people to become agents of change and advocates for themselves and advocates for a better world? It's something I see a lot with you, Chris, all the time. And it's a constant conversation at our school, but I'm concerned that it's not a constant conversation at every school.
What do you mean by that?
So, good question. We'll think about our social justice lessons. So at Kip Infinity, we not only talk about character, but we talk about social justice and how, and let kids really talk about it, not adults. But when you all go home, we as adults reflect on our day and say, how have we moved forward our mission to make sure that education is not just pouring out knowledge, but really having kids create their own knowledge and create their own way.
My mom always tells me something similar about that, like she prays over me when I sleep. like she comes over to my bed, and all she does for like about 30 minutes or something is pray. Pray that for protection. Pray that I could be able to walk the streets with my mom and be okay. Pray that I can get a good education every day, either if it's on TV, on air, or even personally with my mom. She also prays that nothing would really happen to her because I'm turning 10 years old and I still need some guidance. So, but other people can really help me with that.
When you talk about civil rights and the effect that it has on education, the first thing that comes to mind is the whole civil rights thing was to go against the separate but equal thing. But somehow 50 years after Brown versus the Board of Education, all across the country in major cities, you have one group mostly in impoverished, urban, minority neighborhoods, and then you have another section of people, who have more tax dollars, who have better, schools, more resources, and things like that. So it's kind of like we actually went back to segregation without even knowing it. Because right now, I know in New York City, that's a big fight, is the fact that a lot of these schools are underserved in these communities. So that would be my focus is maybe we need to, as crazy as it sounds, maybe we need to start busing, some of these kids out to, the suburbs or to the areas where, it's less minorities or less urban kids. Because at this point, obviously, when you look at the test scores, and I'm sure you're a principal, it's a great disparity in the education. And, I'm not sure how the tax dollars get allocated, but it seems like there's also a lack of resources in these neighborhoods too, as far as a lot of students in one class compared to other neighborhoods. So I think that should be a focus: is have we gone back to separate but supposedly equal? Do we need to start busing some kids into other neighborhoods and making this disparity different? So that's something I think we should look into.
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
Not for only people here, but people of New York.
Okay.
Or all over Manhattan. What do you think about this? No reply? Okay. What I think about this is that, like John Prince said, is we're back in civil rights. We don't really know it because my mom and even other people say we're in biochemical and spiritual warfare. Sometimes my mom thinks it's the food. Sometimes my mom thinks it's just people's actions or the people that they look up to, as rappers. The rappers are giving them negative vibes. And I'm giving y'all a clue because that's gonna be our last question. So I'm gonna give y'all guys clues. So how about y'all hang in there?
Can I say something?
Yes.
I know you're the host. But about busing and what have you, they did that years ago, for
They still do it.
integration. Yeah. That's fine, just in the name of giving our children a better education. But there needs to be something done about the children who live in poverty areas. I think they should upgrade their education some kind of way. I know it has a lot to do with tax dollars and what have you. But we have to demand some more, a better education. I don't know how you do it. I mean, you would know as the educator.
It's a fight.
Yeah.
It's a fight for resources for things that seem as if it's common sense. We should all have access to these things. It's amazing to me the fight that we have to have year in and year out. And you can talk to us too about our actual building. That we're in a building that is in need of constant repair. It's about what every kid deserves, but Chris deserves a classroom that is beautiful, that is state of the art, without any fight.
But not only me, we have a couple other authentic and brilliant kids. I can name you about 7, 8 of them right now.
Your whole
right
class?
here.
You can't name your whole class?
I can, but main people.
Okay.
Your kids.
Yeah, but it's the whole class that I'm worried about because if people don't get civilized, as we call it in my class, people don't get civilized. If people don't get together, how are they gonna know that, like John Prince said, it's a silent civil rights thing, and it's just back in the days 50 years ago with the boycotts and discriminations, because back in the day you didn't have white kids with black kids or black kids with white kids. You had separation. Like, I can make you about a graph right now. You had white kids and black kids separated, but then the black kids, and then they had Spanish kids. Sometimes it would be separated with, it would be black kids alone, Asian kids, Spanish kids, and then you have the rest of the kids, and then white kids would get all the education they want or need. So that could be a big part of today versus back in the day.
And something I will add to that, I think it's just where we come to society, our priorities are out of whack. And I said this, no disrespect to any of our city workers. I have friends that work in corrections that make $90,000, $100,000 when they make top pay with overtime. Sanitation workers making $85,000, and we pay our teachers peanuts. You know, that's why they're leaving to do other things, because we don't have the brightest and the most brilliant that, one, you got to deal with, wonderful people like Chris. But, some kids aren't, as easy to deal with. And we just, our priorities as a society, like, we're spending more money to lock up these kids than we are on early childhood education or pre-K programs. I can't believe that we're not just boycotting and sitting in front of somebody's steps and trying to burn something, because we have come to society has said, listen, education is not our number one priority.
We have reactive policies, not proactive ones. Healthcare. I've just been amazed at how many kids over the years I've known Chris for 5 years, and as I watch new kids come in every year in kindergarten, the amount of kids that have allergies and asthma and real health care issues and needs, and the number has just increased exponentially. And there's not enough access from birth to 5, and then that impacts their ability to be in school, because they can't breathe there's just the preventive policies. We don't put money there. We put it in the reactive. Well, now it's a problem, so we're just going to build more prisons, or we're going to put more cops on the street to police. But we're not putting the money behind beautiful classrooms.
I really like where you're going, but there are access to health cares and stuff, but the parents, I'm gonna give it to y'all real straight. The parents really some of the times the parents just really don't care. They don't care about themselves. Sometimes they care about their kids, but that's only like potentially. Now they're worried about $120 pair of Jordans, and it's 5,200 purses that can only hold your credit card or your wallet. This probably this big, book long. And what we need to do is get our stuff together, because we need to get it together out here, because the struggle is real. I can't say it enough. Struggle is real, and if we can't get it together, then we're all messed up. The black and brown community. President Barack Obama, the first African American president, is leaving office. We have to get our stuff together, but before it gets crazy, because I have to say, the election's scary. It's very scary. You have Donald Trump with his alien friends. You have Hillary Clinton and Bernie helping each other, but then you have Ted Cruz and the other person having a little riff-raff, so you don't know who to believe in, because politics, you can't really balance it out.
I think it's kind of unfortunate what we're going through now. This is really a crucial time for all of us. And this election is really off the hook now. I mean, Trump, so many people, I'm so surprised at how many people really like this guy and believe in the hype, because a lot of things that he's saying is it's just promises. It has no substance. Remember when Reverend Sharpton mentioned about this rich guy that lives in a gold-plated house telling poor people that I'm for you, I understand you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he says crazy stuff. But I also wanted to ask Christopher, have you heard this about, did you hear the expression that some of these schools are just pipelines to the prison? Do you know what that means? Does anyone know?
Let me think. I kind of know what it means, but then I don't.
Can I help you out?
Yes. After this. So the school to prison pipeline, I wouldn't say it's a complicated thing, but then it is, because you have sometimes in the public schools, not even in the public schools, you have fights all over, and then you start off with arguments about who likes this girl, but then who likes this boy, and then it starts off with then punches and kicks, and it gets advanced with knives, and then next thing you know, someone is dead or seriously hurt, about to die. And the school to prison pipelines, when you do something like that and you get arrested, there's no freedom after that, because now you're in jail. You have bars. It's like, it feels like you're an animal in there, because basically you kind of are, but then you aren't. And some people don't like what the cops are doing these days, but you don't like what the police are doing. Why do the stuff that you don't want them to do, but then you're doing it at the same time? So that means killing, kidnapping, highway robbery, store robbery, or you can go into these many other branches of those, but I'm not going to get into it now, because I want to talk on the behalf of John Prince.
Right. So basically, you were onto something. The prison, school to prison pipeline is based on the fact that prisons are $1 trillion industry.
Yes.
From privatized, not only to the states, the feds, everybody getting money per prisoner, but the people that make the soap, the people that make the socks, the people that supply the food. This is $1 trillion industry, and if people stop going to jail, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, and a lot of people are going to lose out on money. So what they do is they basically, statistically speaking, say, all right, we know in the 3rd, 2nd, 4th grade that these young men, due to their test scores, due to the neighborhoods they come from, are going to go to prison. And they do a lot of things. There's a lack of resources, like you said. They don't want to do pre-K programs. They don't want to do after-school programs. They don't want to do, breakfast. It's hard to learn if you don't have, you're hungry. So a lot of these factors, like you said, it's easy to say, oh, they're killing and they're fighting, but you got to get to the root of the problem. You put these places, anywhere you go, from El Barrio and Brazil to China, anywhere where there's poverty, Mexico has the highest murder rate in the world because it's poverty and drugs. Anywhere you have poverty and drugs, it's not rocket science. So, one of the things we can, start to do, I don't necessarily have the solution, but it's about breaking the cycle. It's about creating more leaders like yourself, more fathers, more husbands, more educated people, And it's big, we get into, it's a lack of men in the households, a lack of fathers. We have a lot of mothers that are dependent on the government. They're ignorant themselves, and ignorant people, I hate to say it, they have ignorant children. And I'm sure you might deal with some parents that are not, like you said, they're not involved in their children's lives as much as they have a lot of other distractions and things going on. So that's something we have to address, and this is the first time in history, I think Hillary Clinton, she said, hey guys, I want to tell you, and white America too, she said, the justice system is unequal for African Americans, brown people. And a lot of people was like, wow, for real? And I'm like, wow, we knew this for the last 40 years. Like, America, as crazy as we say, they really didn't know, certain people really didn't know that, they target young African American males, they put drugs in the community, like I said, they put us on top of each other in projects, which is a big project thing, and what do you expect to happen? So we have to start, but a lot of the things, we can have initiatives, we can have money, but it has to start with us and making young leaders like yourself with positivity.
And educating the children so that they won't be in poverty later on in life and end up in jail.
And I think we have to stop policing schools.
Yes.
And so,
So you're saying something about military schools, something like that? Or?
The physical presence of police-like actions in schools, so zero tolerance policies, physical cops in schools, the increase in walking through metal detectors at a school, and that, I think people think that's just high school, but then that goes down to middle school.
Yeah.
And you've even started to see it in elementary school where there's just zero tolerance for any mistake anyhow, and they suspend a kid. And you know that when you don't graduate from high school, you're 8 times more likely to end up in prison or to end up in the system, the justice system. And so to cut that pipeline off, we have to make schools better, and we have to start. One of the solutions that we've tried, and Chris, you've been a part of this, is this restorative justice model. So stopping, suspending, and really start to really have a conversation with the community and the impact of someone's action on the community, and having them hear and feel that feedback is far more powerful than not being allowed to come to school. And so the over suspension of Black and brown boys is absolutely real, and it has to stop. And it unfortunately starts way too early in kindergarten and moves right on up.
That's true.
Yeah, speaking to your point, I used to get in trouble a lot during school, and it was crazy because any little thing, they would give you like 10-day suspension. And now looking back at it, I'm like, if you take a child out of school for 10 days in the middle of a semester, that has a great impact. And they send the packets home, but you don't do that. And quite frankly, a lot of the kids rather be home, playing video games because, like I said, they have a lack of, parental units at home. So they're at home or they're getting in trouble for 10 days, 5 days, like you said, for every infraction. I know for me, I hated in-school suspension because it's like, I used to be like, send me home. I'd rather be at home than have to sit in a room and actually do my work. So I agree with you. And it's just like you said, it's just about punishing them. And a lot of these kids, they come to school mad, because, they see fighting in their household. Like I said, they're angry. And instead of addressing the root of the issues, it's like, all right, just kick them out,
So, we have any more questions before we? Okay. So next up, we're gonna have. Let's talk about the debate about charter schools versus public schools. We're gonna have my principal share what is it like to have me in the school while being a principal.
What's it like to have you in school?
Yeah.
You keep things entertaining, always. And one of the character strengths that you have is your humor. But you pair that with your intelligence and your curiosity, and you're the type of student that everybody wants to teach. It's been fun to watch you grow up, because I met you when you were 4. And to see you now it's not just about our school. It's about you, it's about your mom and the support that she gives you. It's about your determination. But what I appreciate the most about you is that you don't accept anything that somebody tells you. You question things, and that's going to be a tool in life that'll get you very far. And so, while I will admit that some of that questioning has been a little frustrating at times, that is the kind of thing that I want my daughter to question things the way that you question them. So I think that it has been a pleasure to have you in the school.
Oh, what about the times in kindergarten?
So I don't think you remember this. And if you do, I'm going to be surprised. But when I first met you, you refused to tell me your name for about a week. You only answered to Michael Jackson. Yep. You refused to answer to Christopher or Christopher Lane. But when we called you Michael Jackson, you would respond. And you thought it was the funniest thing that had ever happened. And we didn't think it was that funny after the first day. But I was impressed by your grit and persistence with that, Michael Jackson.
Oh, what about the time when I cut my hair? Oh yeah, that was hilarious. I'm sorry.
Christopher did in kindergarten cut holes into his afro. During
It was beautiful too.
It was beautiful. It was
Nice.
beautiful.
Very nice.
And you cut holes in it.
Oh boy.
So are we allowed to talk about the charter schools or public schools, or can we talk about you?
Now let's have a debate about charter schools versus public schools. Who wants to go?
Well, she knows this. I would question her because she's a principal at a charter school.
Yeah.
My first question is I don't have children, so I don't know enough about it. But number one, why are public resources use to fund charter schools? And number two, why don't we just take the model and the curriculum, because obviously everybody agrees it's good, and apply it into public school settings?
This has been the debate of my career, right? And there's a couple of misunderstandings I think that are out there. The charter schools are public schools, but the essence of charter schools is that they were these beds of experiment to really try to do something outside of the norm to see if we could actually make reform and change. And what happened is and they were supposed to be these laboratories where you could go and you could learn. What happened is then we became separate and not a part of, and now let's go and learn and really take that to other schools. Because one of the things I've prided myself on is I hope that if I don't have a job as a charter school principal, it means that I've done my job, because we don't need this school. What's happened though is the conversation has broken down. And so I'm not talking to other DOE schools about what's working, and I'm not hearing from them, because they're really great DOE public schools as well. They're doing amazing, innovative things, but the conversation has stopped because of funding. And the choice of a parent to choose a charter school like Chris's mom chose, and to basically walk with their feet and to walk with their money was and is this message to the Department of Education that you have to do better. We're also not bound, and this is where I feel for my peers in the DOE schools, we're not bound by certain limitations that are put upon them that they can't do what their kids need. Where I have a freedom to do that. I control my budget. I can make decisions around more time and who I put in the classroom. So the debate for me is really about the conversation that we need to have together about all schools.
Now, are charter schools for profit?
No.
Okay.
Not Kip. No.
Now,
I was gonna say
we're going to have to pause, only because our time has run out. But part 2 is coming up next week. So we're going to continue the conversation. I just want to say thank you, Chris, and I'll see you next week with your guest. And to let you know that our children are blessings from God. And please come again and watch us next week.
you might have the same guest.
You will. Thank you.
Dun, 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 dun.